Hey, this is Sarah. Look, I'm standing out front of AM/PM right now, and well, you're sweet and all, but I found something more fulfilling, even kind of cheesy, but I like it. Sure, you met some of my dietary needs, but they've just got it all. So farewell, oatmeal. So long, you strange, soggy
Break up
breakfast.
with bland breakfast and taste AM/PM's Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit, made with cage-free egg, smoked bacon, and melty cheese on a buttery biscuit. AM/PM, too much good stuff.
Welcome to Scripture Adventures, where we seek the wisdom of God like silver and search for it like hidden treasure. This episode is for the woman who wonders if her life matters, if her quiet faith is making a difference, or if her story is too broken to be used. Lazarus never speaks a single word in Scripture, not one. Yet his life, raised by Jesus, became a powerful witness that turned many hearts toward the Messiah. This is an invitation to let your life, renewed, redeemed, and repurposed, be your loudest testimony. If you've ever felt like you have nothing impressive to say, take heart. Lazarus said nothing at all, and people still believed in Jesus because of him. Sometimes the most powerful stories aren't told, they're lived. This isn't about being the loudest. It's about living in such a way that people see the resurrection power of Jesus in you. John 12, verse 10 through 11. So the chief priests made plans to put Lazarus to death as well, because on account of him, many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus. Can you imagine that just like Jesus, someone wants to put you to death because people were believing and you hadn't even uttered a word? Lazarus was the living testimony. In John 11, 1 through 44, we actually see the account of the miracle. Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. This was not just a healing, it was a resurrection. He says to him, Lazarus, come out. Now, we imagine from Scripture that Lazarus came out still wrapped in grave clothes and very much alive. I ask the question, did he come out in grave clothes, or did Jesus kind of do a miracle and he was in his usual clothing and didn't smell like death? I mean, remember, this had been 4 days. But regardless, Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead as a resurrection, not a healing. He comes out of the grave very much alive. It was more than a miracle. It was a foreshadowing of Christ's own resurrection. It was one of the things that the people of Jesus' time were looking for, a sign that would point toward the person being the Messiah. This was one of those moments. And Lazarus becomes a preview of the gospel. In John 11:25, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. It was one of the most powerful I am statements Jesus ever uttered. And again, he uttered this to Martha, Lazarus' sister. But it was all in a conversation about Lazarus' life. In John 12:2, so they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was the one reclining with him at the table. Pay attention to this. You've been raised from the dead. This was something that was foreshadowing the coming of the Messiah. People are now wanting to put you to death. There's no spotlight. There's no speech. There's just Lazarus' presence. And it was powerful. Sometimes your loudest witness isn't in what you say, it's in the way you live. Let's look at 2 Corinthians 3, verses 2 through 3. The only letter of recommendation we need is you yourselves. Your lives are a letter written in our hearts. Everyone can read it and recognize our good work among you. Clearly, you are a letter from Christ showing the result of your ministry among you. This letter is written not with pen and ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. is carved not on tablets of stone, but on human hearts. Like the believers in Corinth, Lazarus became a living letter. He didn't write theology, he didn't speak publicly, but his very existence after being raised from the dead was a visible, undeniable testimony of Jesus' power, identity, and grace. Everyone who saw Lazarus saw a man who had been dead and now was alive. His life was the message. Just like the Corinthian believers who were letters written by the Spirit, Lazarus was a walking message from God, written not in ink, but in resurrection. Think about that. Can your life be a written letter of God's message of resurrection? You might not be called out of a tomb, but you have been called to walk in a new life. And so my challenge is walk it well. You may never have a platform or a pulpit, but if you've been raised by Jesus, you have a testimony. You don't have to be eloquent, to be effective. And the evidence of resurrection power is in your transformation, not in your words. The same Jesus who called Lazarus out of the grave is calling you out of whatever has held you back, from shame, fear, complacency, feeling small, whatever it is. Jesus is saying, come out of the grave. Does your life show evidence of resurrection? Are you willing to be used even if it costs something? Matthew 5:16 tells us, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." There's a quote that says, "Preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words." And I love this because all too often, especially in our world today, we feel like we should be on our social media reels or on a platform or doing this or doing that to spread the gospel. But in all honesty, it's our life that should be spreading the gospel. We should only use words when it's necessary. So let's go about being a quiet witness when it's necessary. Lazarus never preached a sermon, wrote a book, or gave a testimony on stage, but his life pointed to Jesus, and yours can too. His very existence disrupted the religious system. He was a living proof of who Jesus is, the Messiah, the resurrection, and the life. Sister, you may be behind the scenes, overlooked, or quiet, but don't underestimate the power of your presence when it's been touched by Jesus. Remember, God can use your ordinary days, your healed wounds, and your unseen faith to shine a light that leads others straight to Him. You don't need a microphone, just a resurrected life. I'll see you next time on Scripture Adventures.